Brought to you by DIS, keeping companies connected with cloud-based solutions. Come on, City.
Connor, good to chat with you again. I guess now you've had a bit of time to reflect on Saturday's game. So what are your thoughts after the defeat at Exeter?
No, obviously it's disappointing. Obviously result being in the lead twice as well. So, I think Mark summed it up of the key moments we just didn't handle well enough. And that obviously prevented us getting a positive result.
What do you put those key moments down to being your downfall in that game? Is it a case of lack of concentration or is it something else?
Yeah, I think that would be one of them. Obviously things happen quick on a football pitch and movement and let's not get it wrong, some of their play and some of their attacking threats were very good and they've capitalised on the day and they're a very good team as well.
A defeat, yes, and naturally disappointment that the unbeaten run comes to an end. But can you afford yourself that perspective that they are a promotion-chasing side? And in the same breath, I think I'm right in saying that they're the League Two top goal scorers as well. So it was always going to be a difficult game. Yeah,
like you say, it's we knew what they were about and how many goals they'd scored and the capabilities that they had in their team and for us, we tried our best to try and nullify them. We had certain things that we tried to implement, but again, sometimes when you're playing away from home and they're flying with their confidence on the day, and they managed to punish us.
And I guess with that in mind, it can give you some perspective in the form of looking to take positives away from the game, because yes, you led twice, debut goals for two of your new signings as well. So there's a lot to take away despite the defeat.
Yeah, it's obviously brilliant for the two new guys coming in to start so well and get a goal, which was brilliant for their confidence, and we're happy to see them start well and now it's for them to just keep on pushing and making sure that they're performing every week.
We spoke to Levi not too long ago. He told us that you've gone through some analysis today of that game in isolation. So what was your main message, yours and Mark's, to the players?
I think we were going back to what gave us success in games before, and just reinforcing the same messages that we potentially came a little bit away from, which is happens when you put obviously new players in and you've got different people in different positions and you've got players missing out. So we just had to reiterate what kind of team we are and how we can play to our strengths, and it was a really good thing that we did.
Do you have to curate your messages at all differently to the squad now that there are so many fresh faces in the building, and we're again almost trying to gel the players that have arrived at the football club with the ones that are pre-existing?
Yeah, that's definitely something that as managers you have to do. New players come in and they're at different stages, so we obviously took over and some players are 8 weeks into how we play, and now you've got some players coming in who've never worked under us and maybe asking something different to they've had before. So how we do that is by having individual meetings with these players, these new players, but also getting the lads who know what we want to reinforce those messages from themselves as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, and I think Mark alluded to it somewhat on Saturday after the game, about drawing on some of the older players, the experienced players, the ones that know how you operate, but certainly how football operates at that level as well, to be able to use them as a way of trying to communicate messages across to some of the younger players. Yeah,
that's key, and I think by them getting to know what we want from specific players in certain parts of the pitch, when their knowledge is at that level where they know what we want, they can reinforce those messages, and if everybody's on the same hymn sheet, then it's going to be more promising and people understand their roles and responsibilities.
Again, going back to our conversation that we've just had with Levi, and again he alluded to a relationship in particular with Elliot that he's formed in the heart of that midfield, just sitting in front of the back four. And the point I'm getting to is that you've been able to, in your time, seemingly create relationships on the field with players in particular. So how much of that will have to factor into how you speak to the new players that have arrived at the football club and trying to form those relationships?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of clips and a lot of analysis of how we want players to perform in certain positions, and as coaches, we've been coaching for years now, and we're trying to understand how players best learn, and it's no difference for first team players, because when you're asking something new of them, you've got to be able to find out a creative way to make them understand it and for them to implement it. So the relationships are key, and our job is to make sure that when players come in and out, that those relationships can form as well.
You've said to us previously that you like the nature of a quick turnover of games, the hectic schedule that is presented to you, all being well, weather permitting, of course, and tomorrow goes ahead. Does that benefit you then, that you have the opportunity to get back out on the field and almost try and right those wrongs at the first time of asking?
Yeah, I think you've summed it up there. Right the wrongs. That's something that we've explained to the players, and in football there's another game around the corner, and we're happy that it comes only a few days after, so we can implement what we need to do and make sure that the performance is better than the last one, and we're all looking forward to putting it right.
I appreciate you're not the Met Office, but how confident are you that tomorrow will go ahead?
I'm definitely not the Met Office, but we're just trying to be professional. We prepare for the game as if it's on, and irrelevant of the weather. So there's no difference in terms of preparation for us. The game is on, and the weather will do what it needs to do. But hopefully it's kind. Yes,
I guess you're experienced in that department, though, probably more than most clubs in this league after the season so far.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that's affecting everybody, and we went down to Exeter and it was lovely blue skies, so a little bit further north, and you seem to get a little bit of snow.
Yes, it was raining and snowing at Valley Parade on Saturday, I can tell you that firsthand. Yeah. Going back to the game in particular, I asked Mark about it afterwards in respect to the substitution for Finn late on in the game. And he said himself that it was probably a tough afternoon for him. Naturally, that's going to happen. He is still so young, and it's all part of his education. But what's the best format for him now, Connor? I suppose the big question is, do you stick by him?
I think with Finn, we know him really well. Obviously been with him for years, and it was an afternoon which he's got to learn from, and it's massive that he does. But our decision will be for the best for Finn, and that's what our priority is, to make sure that with any decision Finn understands why we're going to do what we're going to do. So Finn's a great lad, and he'll definitely learn from this occasion.
Having worked with him, having known him, having understanding his character, how will he have responded to what happened on Saturday? He'd
obviously want to right the wrongs. He wants to analyse and look at where he's gone wrong. Me and Mark have spoken to him during the game, at half time, before the game, just checking in and making sure that he knows his roles, and he's somebody that will come back stronger, and we're confident in that. Naturally, it's a disappointment for him in that moment, and maybe potentially a detriment to the side. Not generally, though, of course. But how actually beneficial could that be if we're looking for positives from it? That he is still so young. It's still an education for him to have those experiences, those learning curves. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that he learns from it. As footballers, he's got a great opportunity. He's 18 years old and he's playing in League Two at the minute, week in, week out, and he's been terrific so far, and he's had a performance which he's not happy with, and like I say, he's got to bounce back. In terms of team news, are you able to return anyone to the starting fold, or indeed the matchday squad that were absent on Saturday? Yeah, it looks like we've hopefully got some players back in, which will help us have a little bit more variety as well. So yes, some promising signs, yeah. Danny Rowe, naturally the one that everyone wants to know about, the cold that kept him out on Saturday. Are you hopeful that he'll be available for tomorrow? Yeah, he's been in today. Obviously he did have his test and it came back negative, and we're hopeful that Danny's going to be involved tomorrow.
As for Andy Cook and Gareth Evans, will they be available for tomorrow?
Again, we've got some decisions to make, but they're definitely in the pipeline.
And Billy Clark as well. I realised that was someone else that wasn't in the match day squad. Was it a hamstring problem that he had?
Yeah, a muscular injury. So with Billy, he's not going to be. He's not going to be tomorrow. No.
I wanted to get your thoughts, Conor, if I may, just on Scunthorpe in isolation. Of course, they've had some decent results of late and then a bit of a break, which you know all too well about, of course. But how will you go about trying to break down their defence? 3 clean sheets in a row, which has really helped them in their recent form.
Yeah, we've what we're trying to do is identify where we can hurt them from our system, and we're confident that we can find little loopholes in their system to make it hard, and we've got to be asking questions of their defence. But again, we've having scoring 2 this weekend away, we're confident we can go out there and score goals. That's for sure.
Yeah, I suppose the attacking variety that you have at your disposal now gives you more food for thought when looking at how you try and find those gaps in the defence that you talk about. Yeah,
like I say, we've throughout the window, throughout our period here, we've talked about types and variety of players, and because that's so important in unlocking the door in these tight defences. So, if it's going to be a wide man, an out and out wide man, or it's going to be an inverted winger, or is it a target man, or maybe someone who's going to work off the shoulder, or a variety of on one side's different to the other. So, that's our understanding to try and make sure we make the right decision.
And more generally as well, their recent form, partnered with yourselves, partnered with Mansfield, goodness, even Tranmere as well, just goes to show that this table is completely wide open, and it could be anyone's really towards the end of the season. Yeah,
obviously from us playing Tranmere to where they are now, it's quite staggering, and it just shows you with performances and a bit of a run where you can get to. So we've got to try and replicate that, but obviously knowing that it's we've said it's not as easy as just winning games and being unbeaten. Things happen, and we've got to respond. You don't need to remind the players that, of course, but is that part of what you say to them when you're going into games, that this season, this table, because it's so wide open, there are so many opportunities available? Is that part of your message when you speak to them? It can be at times, and you probably know what I'm going to say. But obviously, it's the next game is crucial, and we look to pick up the points from there, and then move on, and then look to get some momentum. Okay, we'll go well tomorrow, Conor, if it goes ahead anyway. Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Conor.
Hello.
Is there a case for saying that having lost on Saturday, you'll learn more from about your squad than you would have done if it had been another win or draw? In how they react to me.
Yeah, sometimes people say a loss is an opportunity to learn from maybe things that we've potentially been getting away with at times. Just highlights it a little bit more. So, where we've tried to right the wrongs, as we said, and we're going to definitely learn from the game against Exeter.
And as you said, you've got to prepare as though tomorrow's game is on. Do you also have to have a plan B, if you like, for if it's not on, and what you're going to do with the players, because it will change the structure of the week completely?
Yeah, that's all sorted, and something that we do within the club. Yeah.
And obviously, players, a lot of games coming up. How much do you have to look ahead and think that player won't be able to play that number of games? I'm going to have to make a change somewhere, and try and pinpoint where the change will be.
Yeah, a lot of the substitutions are tried to be planned. Obviously, circumstances are not always as easy to make substitutions, but we try and plan ahead. So we've got players who are on a capped certain minutes they should be playing, and sometimes it may not seem the right decision, but we've got to make sure that those players are fit, not just for that game, but for the future as well.
I suppose that's one of the big changes that's happened over the last 5 to 10 years, isn't it? That the physical and the medical side of it has really upped its game, and you do now, like you say, have capped minutes for players in their recovery.
Yeah, you go back into the science, and a lot of the times that they can predict things and predict injuries that are going to occur, and we've got to respect that, and we for sure are gonna take advice from people who have in those disciplines where they're giving advice on players loaded and the risk of injury. So that's definitely something that's not just us, that every club are doing as well.
And something that I suppose sometimes that fans don't fully appreciate, that why is that player coming off now? But it's because that's what the medical staff and the sports scientists have said. I
guess, yeah. Unless you don't know that, if you maybe not been involved in having those conversations, which is fair enough. But our point of view, we've just got to make the best decision for the team and for the club, and we can't sort of worry too much about players being always playing 90 minutes where it's not possible. We've got to make sure that the loading and position related, so some players cover a lot more distance than others, and we take all this into account, and we're just trying to help make sure that the team's as strong as it can be for longer periods of the season.
Thanks very much. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hi, Connor.
Hello.
Yep. I was also reading that apparently just over 3,000 people watched the game on iFollow on Saturday. Well, I mean, are you sort of aware of that growing fan base in sense of growing numbers of people watching it? Those figures seem to be going up week on week. Yeah,
I am aware of it. I do see it, and it does obviously bring a smile to my face. So, it's fantastic. We see those numbers and how they've increased, and it's brilliant for the club.
It's strange in a way, and it's obviously, as I say, playing every week, the ground's empty, it's all a bit weird. But there's that, you've almost got to sort of visualise, there's that big audience still willing you on, isn't there? There's a lot of people paying attention.
Yeah, and it's brilliant that people can still watch the game on the iFollow. So it's really nice that people in the tough times can still watch the games and give them that excitement that they want and crave. Watching Bradford City, so really pleasing to see the numbers, and hopefully we can get even more.
I think talk to players, and they're very aware of that. They know this. It's almost like this invisible audience there, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's something that the players have had to adapt to. And not having crowds, and maybe it's helped the younger ones coming in because they've not had that immediate pressure of playing in front of 15,000 people potentially. So but again, it'd be brilliant to get the fans back as soon as possible.
Yeah, and as Pete was saying, obviously about if the game doesn't happen tomorrow, you've sort of got a plan B. I mean, whatever happens, there's going to be a real concertina of fixtures. Basically, everybody in the division is facing the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's probably a lot of teams are like us and trying to manage the minutes of the players, and let's see what they do. The EFL if they extend it or what. But again, you don't want to be making it where it's too much for the players. So it's kind of a balance.
Do you think they could possibly extend the season, or is it because it's sort of set in ways with when the playoffs are and when? Well, I think all the way to the Euros, and it's all very much set in stone almost. Yeah,
it's going to be difficult, obviously, with the Euros and things like that. And there's always, if you push things back, other things, may potentially fail or get interfered with. So, hopefully, we're hoping that we can finish the season in good time and hopefully be up that table as well.
Yeah, and as you say, the management of players in regards to minutes, it's for their own welfare as well, isn't it? Because it is such a, concentrated run.
Yeah. We're trying to protect them. We're trying to make sure that we've got depth and we've got a really good squad. So we're hoping to rotate, but again, making sure that we're as strong as possible.
Yeah, and in terms of this run of games, I mean, from yourself and Mark's view, is it good to be sort of game like that coming up now, or would you rather have perhaps a couple of weeks where you can sort of work with particularly as there's been a lot of changes?
Yeah, I think we're in this position, so we've just got to react to this position, and that just changes how we work and our organisation. But we just get on with it.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, best of luck. Hopefully see you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Cheers anyway.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Connor, for a new manager or new managers in your case, is the first defeat the big test? Do you think in terms of the response?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think we said a few games in where things could quickly change, and we're 9 games in. So when we've had this sort of negative defeat, and it's a challenge to see how we respond as staff, but as also as players. Yeah.
And obviously, you already know the young lads who come through the system, but will you learn a lot about some of the other players in terms of that response?
Yeah, I think there'll be signs of who responds well, and the professional footballers. So we're hoping that the ones that we've recruited and the ones that are already in the building are going to have a positive reaction and just going into the next game wanting to prove people wrong again and being underdogs.
And you talked earlier about managing the minutes in terms of the physical demands on the players. Now that you've got all these options after the transfer window, do you think particularly attacking wise it'll be more sort of horses for courses in terms of your team selection each game, looking at the weaknesses of the opposition and tailoring your team more to that?
I think those are conversations that we do have, but also if people warrant a place in the team as well, it's hard to then shift people out who are still deserving to play. But what we'll do is make sure that we have discussions and we come up with the decision that's gonna help us on the Saturday or the Tuesday.
And need to ask you the big question of the day. We were speaking to Levi earlier, and he was telling us he was the best singer in the squad the other day when they did the initiations. Is that the case?
There's been quite a few now, so I'm trying to remember Levi's, but I'll go with what he said.
Fair enough. But on a serious note, I mean, in terms of integrating the new lads, have you had to be a little bit more creative because of the constraints on you at the moment?
Yeah, obviously the Exeter trip probably helped quite a lot with them being away from home and having to bond and get to know each other more. But you'll find a lot of players know each other through the game as well, and then obviously they find relationships with each other. But everyone gets along, so it seems a good camp at the minute. But we're trying to give them opportunities to socialise with each other.
And how easy is it for you and Mark to judge how well lads have settled? I mean, do you just sort of mainly go on how they perform on the training pitch, or are there little signs you can pick up on away from the pitch? Yeah,
I think it's just everything that they do when they're coming in. Are they happy? Have they got a smile on their face? Have they got people that they're talking to? We also speak to players to see how they're settling in as well. So there's it's just natural conversations that you do have, but also as coaches you're trying to again ask that question to yourself: how well is he settling in that the new player? And you've got to keep your eyes on it. So it's a mixture of both really.
And I guess it's a lot easier bringing them into a winning team and coming into methods that they can already see are working.
Yeah, hopefully with the buy-in and the players, again, like I said earlier, reinforcing those messages and making sure that the players who come in are abiding by them and they know the rules.
Brought to you by DIS, keeping companies connected with cloud-based solutions. Come on, City!